So good morning once again. My name is Shola Ajani, School of Consulting. This is Module 3. We're looking at consulting processes. How do we deliver consulting? What are the steps to deliver consulting? And then much more, what are the tools that we use? I'm particularly excited about this class because, as I said in my chat, it's a core class, very core in the sense that most of what you use as a consultant is built on what you will learn in this class. So for me, it's a very important class. All classes are important, but I find this very, very important. Before I go into my slides, I want to show you if you want to discuss, let me look for it. I think I've opened it. Yeah, that's it. So let me share my slides. So we're looking at consulting process models. We're looking at how do we deliver consulting processes. So what is consulting process model? So that's what we're looking at today. Consulting services and the models and the tools, the methods. How do we deliver consulting? So that's what we're looking at. Consulting services, solution, and the tools. The different steps in consulting. So why do we need this session? Is to understand the 4 phases of a consulting engagement. Now, it says 4 phases here, but I would say ignore the 4 and just take it that understand the phases of a consulting engagement. And I'd say that simply because there are 3 basic or fundamental phases in a consulting assignment. But over the years, people have developed an extension of the 3. Some have 5, some have 4, some even have 15 steps. So we're talking about the steps you would take in any consulting assignment, which is built around 3 major steps. Yeah. And the major steps, we covered it in the beginning of the training, is the consulting when the client engages you. And then this next step is when you come back with a solution for the client. And the last step is when you deliver the assignment. Now, between those 3 steps, there are intervening steps. Between those 3 steps, between when the client briefs you, this is what we need. This is my challenge as a business. This is the problem I want to solve in my business. So that, if you like, is the first step. The next major step is when you come up with a solution to what the client is asking for. Okay? When you come up with a solution, that's the next step. Then the final step is in the event you are asked to solve the problem, the implementation. That is the 3rd step. Now, between those 3 steps, there are several other steps that we could look into. So what we're doing today is we're looking at so ignore the 4 here. We want to understand the phases of a consulting engagement. When a client engages you, what are the major phases? And then within each phase, what do we do? So at the inception stage, what do we do? At every stage, what do we do within each phase? Because the services and function as a consultant that we deliver is different at each stage. Then, beyond what we do, what are the tools that we can use at each phase? This we need to understand. Not just looking at what are the different stages. You can use the word stage. You can use consulting life cycle. You can use phases. Beyond understanding the phases of any the stage of life cycle or process of any consulting engagement, there are particular things that we do. Those are the services as a consultant. And what tools do we use for each stage? What tools do we use for each stage? And then finally, what are the frameworks that you can use in a real-life consulting assignment. So these 4 are very critical in terms of what we want to learn today. Consulting services, solutions, and tools. This is basically the client's journey from when the client consults, asks you that this is what we need, to when you deliver the assignment. What are the stages? What do you do at each stage? And then what tools do you use for each phase or each stage? And then how do you apply it in a real life situation? Now, as I said to you, ignore the 4 here because this is one opinion. There can be several phases in a consulting assignment. There's no hard rule that it must be these 4. There can be several phases. And as I'm going to show you this morning, there are several phases that you can adopt for your consulting assignment. So it's not rigid that it's 2 or 3, no. There are several phases that we could adopt. So I have a document here. It's in, I think it's in your handout. And if it's not in your handout, let me know. Which talks about consulting process models, or you can, if you like, consulting process stages. These are frameworks that we can use. So from a simple consulting project to a large-scale project, depending on how big the consulting assignment is, there are different tools, different stages that have been proposed. So you can adopt any of these models based on the complexity of the problem. So this is one model, Skine. Skine proposed 2 circles, the inner circle and the outer circles. And this is 6 steps. So as I said to you, these are 6 phases or 6 stages. So depending on what you are doing and depending on models, there are several models out there. But essentially, whatever model I'm going to show you today is built on 3 things. A client comes to you, this is the challenge we have. How do we solve this challenge? That's the first step in any consulting assignment. You're always going to have that in any consulting assignment. The client comes and says, this is our challenge. So that's the first step when the client briefs you. The next step is solutioning. Beyond the client briefing you, the next major step is the solution to what the client has proposed to you as a problem or as a need, as a business need, or as a challenge. Remember, consulting is not always about solving problems. It could be a client that wants to achieve a goal. It could be a client that wants to improve performance. It could be a client that wants to solve a problem. That's the first step when the client tells you what they need. The next major step is when you come up with solutions to meet the client's objective. That's the next major step. And the third major step is when, if you're allowed to implement. Remember again, it's not all consulting assignment that leads to implementation. So those are the 3 major steps. The client briefing you, you coming up with solution, and then implementing the solution. So those are the 3 major steps. Irrespective of any other step we may come up with, those are the 3 major steps. Now, Skine here has come up with 6 steps. He has come up with 6 steps because it's the 2 cycles of activity broken into 2. The first cycle is number 1 here, problem formulation. Problem formulation. Some people call it the client briefing, when the client tells you, this is what we are going through. And then when the client tells us as consultants that this is what we are going through, the first thing we do is what we call problem formulation, to develop a problem statement, to clarify it and develop a problem statement. This is the first step under this model, to develop a problem statement. The next thing under this model of 6 phases is producing proposals for solution. So you can see the red is the felt need, what they need. The next thing is the problem formulation. Next thing is coming up with proposals or solutions to solve the problem. And then the third one here is, for these solutions that we are proposing, these are the likely outcomes. That's number 3 step. These are the likely outcomes for each of these proposals. And I like this because, as I said last week, always let the client take responsibility for their decision. Always let the client take responsibility. Don't decide for a client. You can give a client a range of options of what to do, but ultimately let the client make a decision. Listen, in life, you don't take responsibility for what you don't own. People don't take responsibility for what they don't own. So likewise in consulting, let the client own the decision. So number 2 is proposing solutions to the client. And then you can help the client in number 3 by saying, for each of these solutions that we are giving you, these are the likely consequences. Let the client choose. That's number 3. Now the client has chosen an option. Then the next thing is action planning. How do we implement the decision the option the client has chosen? How do we implement it? That's action planning. Yeah. And then here they have taking action steps, implementing the action steps. This is stage 5. And then the stage 6 is evaluating the outcomes. So when you are evaluating the outcomes, you are looking at the end result vis-a-vis number 3. Remember, you have forecasted what are the consequences. So you are looking at it, these outcomes, do they match the forecast? What you said is going to be the likely outcomes for each solution. And much more importantly, does it solve the problem, or does it meet the needs of the client? So this, for Skyne, are the 6 stages of problem solving, if you like, in consulting. Now, okay, any question on this? Let's take some questions before I move on. Any question? Any question, please? Any question? Any question? Any question on that? All right, let's take some.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
sorry.
Sir. Yeah.
Can you come back on the second and the third stages or solutions? You said the first one is developing the problem statement. And then the second one you said was proposing solution to the client, if I got it right.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And then the third one should be what?
The third one is, for every solution that you are proposing, what is the likely outcome?
Okay.
So it says forecasting consequences, testing the proposals. Yeah. And number 3 is very good. Like I said, I particularly like this. It goes back to my statement last week. Never decide on what the client should do. As a consultant, at best, we advise. And it stems from what I said. People don't take responsibility for what they don't own. So as consultants, we don't own the problem. It's transferred to us temporarily to find a solution. We don't own it. Many consultants own the problem and they insist that this is what the client must do. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. So if you are that kind of consultant who decide that this is the best solution, I'm just going to implement this, the client is just going to be looking at you. If anything goes wrong, the client will blame you. Plain and simple. Even when a client decides and it goes wrong, they blame you. How much more if you are the one that decided that this is the best solution? So we give, number 2, a range of solutions to the client. And then number 3, we forecast likely outcomes. Yeah. And once the client has chosen from number 3, we start action planning on whichever choice the client has taken. And then we implement the steps. 5 is implementing 4. And then number 6, the result, we evaluate it vis-a-vis what we promised to be the likely consequences. And is it solving the problem? So that's basically this model. Okay, any other question before I move on? Anyone else? Anyone else?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir. Please. Okay, after giving the client the various solution, he makes his choice. And perhaps the choice is wrong. What happens?
If that's the choice the client has made, there's no, when you say the choice is wrong, what do you mean by the choice is wrong? You are the one.
Okay, for example,
that has given the client,
saying a lot of, you're giving a several solution, maybe 5 or 6 solutions to the problem. Why the client should choose? Why we don't give him like, because we are making a decision too. This is my point. I'm a little bit not understanding in the case why the client should choose his solution. Not we giving him the solution.
Project. It's not your project. It is the client's project. Do you understand that? The client retains ownership. The guy says, I want to build a 3-bedroom house, for example. You're not getting different options. A 3-bedroom house, all en suites. 3-bedroom house, shared toilets. 3-bedroom house, 2 entrance. 3-bedroom house, 1 entrance. So these are the different options. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So for each of the options, there are consequences.
Thank you. That's the point I'm coming to.
Sorry?
Yeah, that's the point I'm thinking about, the consequences after that.
So there are consequences. So you have made, not only given the client the option, you have emphasized the consequences of each option. So whatever happens, you had, as a consultant, pre-warned the client about the consequences. So you cannot be held responsible because the client made that choice. That choice could be a function of budget. A 3-bedroom house that's all en suite, all toilets inside, will cost you more than a 3-bedroom house where they are sharing toilets. So maybe the client has limited funds. Does it make sense? So if that client makes sense, you can now turn around that I don't like this house, the toilets are not enough. But because you had pointed out the consequences of their choice. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Any other question, please? Anyone else? Okay, good. All right. Now, that is one example of a model. Remember, I said this is my foundation. Most consulting assignments are basically 3 models. Most consulting models are basically 3. This is one that has 6 steps. Today, we're looking at consulting steps. And like I said, it doesn't have to be these 6. It depends on different models that you want to adopt. This is another consulting model. This is 13 steps. 13 steps. We just looked at one that had 3, that had 4, 5, 6. And I started off by saying consulting is largely 3 steps. The client briefs you, this is our need. You come up with a solution, you implement the solution. Those are the 3 major steps in consulting. And then we looked at one that had 6. Now, this is one that has 15 steps. This is more detailed. And this starts from marketing. This is a consulting process that starts from marketing all the way to implementing the assignment and coming back with feedback. Use feedback to re-examine the goal, revise action and strategies. So these are 13 steps. I'm not necessarily go through all the 13 steps. You have these documents, you can look at it. But the point I'm trying to make is consulting steps are not casting goal that it must be A, B, C. It depends on the individual situation. I particularly like this step because you can learn a lot from it. So number 1, work focus 1 is making first contact. Whether the client makes contact or you make contact, and this is marketing, whether you send out a proposal or the client is one that calls you, that is step 1 here. Then step 2 here is to help the client identify what needs to be done. Help identify and clarify the need for change. Because, we said this in the first day, the client's DNA. When the client comes to you with a need in consulting, be careful that they are not telling you the symptoms, they are not telling you the symptoms, not the root cause. As consultants, we are concerned about root causes. Trust me, 90% of the time when a client advises us, they tell us what to do, but you need to be careful. Please, you need to be careful that you don't jump at the first suggestion of what the client has told you. In the event that that is not, the client most likely will tell you what they are seeing, which is symptoms. They're telling you what they're seeing, which is symptoms, not the root cause. So for us as consultants, we are interested in finding out the root cause. Yeah. Now, let me warn you, when you say to a client that, look, we are interested in the root cause, one of the first things they think is you are trying to stretch the assignment, you're trying to make more money. Yes. If you don't simply jump at solving the problem based on the recommendation of the client, it's likely to be a longer project. But a longer project for good reasons, explain to the client. If you simply go ahead and implement what the client has asked you to do, and it doesn't solve the problem, number one, the client will blame you. Number two, the client has wasted money. Number three, the problem is still there. So be very, very clear that, yes, this is what the client has asked you to do, but as a consultant, professionally, you need to validate the proposal or what the client is asking you to do. So that's your stage 2 here. Help identify and clarify what needs to be done. Please, this is very, very important. Always clarify what needs to be done, irrespective of what the client has told you. Some clients will say to you, don't worry, just do what we want you to do. Yeah. In that case, I say to people, look, nobody holds a gun to your head. If you feel what the client is asking you to do will not solve the problem, you can walk away. You don't have to do the assignment. Secondly, if you are starting out, you can't pick and choose, let there be a caveat in the assignment that you have advised, these are your advice. This is what the client has opted to do. So remember again why it's important that you don't choose for the client. Because if it goes wrong, the client will blame you. In any case, even if it goes wrong and the client does not, and the client did not choose, or you choose for the client, they will always blame us as consultants. So ultimately, let the client make decisions on the way forward based on, the best you can do is based on informed decision. So work focus 2 is very critical. This is what you want us to do. This is what you have agreed on, or this is the problem you have. Let us validate it. Let us clarify it. Let us be sure this is the root cause. I'm going to finish today with a practical example to see the difference between using root cause analysis and just implementing an assignment. So help to clarify the need, number 2. Then number 3 is equally very important. Explore the readiness for change. Explore, we call this organizational readiness assessment. Organizational readiness assessment. Now, you can have your fingers burnt as a consultant if you don't test the readiness of an organization. And it's as simple as trying to find out, is this organization ready for this assignment? Are you ready for this assignment? Because if you're not ready for the assignment, it may impact on the result of the assignment. So organizational readiness assessment is number 3. Are you ready? And if the organization is not ready, let us bring you to a state of readiness so that our result will be sustainable. So please, step 3.2 is very important. Organizational readiness assessment. Now, focus 4. Can we work well together? What are the capacity resources you have? What do we need to have in place so that we have a successful assignment? That's work focus 4. You can tie 4 and 3 together. It's part of the readiness assessment. Then 5 is, what are the desired outcomes? What would you like as the end result? What would you like is like asking what are the objectives? What do you want to solve? What would you like to see at the end of this exercise? Then work focus 6 is determine who does what. What would you do as a consultant, and what would the client do? That's 6. Then 7 is allocating time to what each person will do. 7 is allocating time. And then 8 is very, very important. What can go wrong? What are the risks? What are the things that can stop us from achieving our assignments? It's called force field analysis. Identify the forces that impede movement. What are the things in the organization that might stop the organization from achieving what it wants to achieve? You know, there's an interesting discussion going on in Nigeria now. We've got security problems, and we're saying that, look, the government can solve this security problem, but do they have the will? Do they have the political will? So in that case, that is the force field diagnosis. Yes, we have security problems. Yes, we can deal with it, but what is stopping us? Okay, what is stopping the government from, so whatever is stopping the organization from achieving what they want to achieve is what you call the force field diagnosis. And it's always good to do that, because you can do you can speak all the grammar. If the client is not ready, you won't achieve what they want to achieve. Now, this 15 steps is just a breakdown, a deeper breakdown into different processes. Okay, projecting the goals. I'm going to move fast now. Projecting the goals. What are the goals that we need to achieve? Planning the action. And then 11. So this is what we want to achieve is 9. The goals, planning the action to achieve 9 is there. And then 11. Hold on, please. I run out of power. I need to get them to put on my agenda. So 9 is goals, projecting the goals. Yeah. And then 10 is planning the action to achieve the goals. And then 11 is implementation, successful action, helping people to develop the skills. That's 11 is implementation. And then 12 is evaluating and feedback. That's part of implementation. Yeah. 13 is now looking at the actions. Are we spending right time on it? Are we mobilizing resources? Are we getting what we promised? Are we achieving the goals? Is our action implementing, achieving the strategies that we wanted to achieve? So all of 11, 12, 13 is implementation, if you like. And then 14, again, I said this on the first day, anything you do, any solution, let there be sustainability. So it's not that once you finish the assignment, everything, you leave, everything goes back to normal. What is the continuity support? Develop a plan to review what you have implemented to sustain it. Sustainability is very key. That's 14. And then 15, how do you exit the assignment? How do you exit the assignment? So this is another consultation process of 15 steps. So for this, again, let's take some questions. Very detailed, but I'm happy to take some questions. Let's take some questions before we move on. Okay? Let's take some questions. Questions, please. The 15 steps that I've shared with you. Questions?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, please, can you take the 15 again, sir?
I can't take the 15 again. I just took the 15. Which one is it that you don't understand?
After looking at the sustainability aspect,
yeah,
I didn't get to clearly whether I said how to exiting the assignment, the number 15.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean workforce 15 step. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant all the 15. Okay, work focus 15. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any consulting assignment?
No, sir.
Yeah.
No, just the number 15, sir.
Yeah. You need to exit any consulting assignment. Question is, when you want to exit the consulting assignment, what do you do? Yeah. For instance, in the example, training an insider to take over the function, take over your consultancy is one of the things you do in termination. I remember an assignment I did for a client in Abuja. When I was leaving in fact, before I left, I had brought in one of the staff to work on the project. So by the time I left, somebody from the organization was already working with me on the project. So by the time I exited, somebody else who was working on the project with me was able to work on the project to sustain it. Because the risk is, as a consultant, once you step out, the assignment may not last. And that's part of the sustainability. So establishing a termination plan is, when I leave, who will take over? Lessons learned. What are the lessons we have learned on this assignment? Those are the things that you do in termination. Writing a standard operating procedure, maybe you implemented a new solution, is one of the things you can do when you are terminating a consulting assignment. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it does. Thank you, sir.
All right, okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other question, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Actually, now this process is the backbone of consulting. I know that, but the problem is, can I solve my own issue not going through the 15? Like I go through maybe 5 or 6 or 7 steps.
Yeah, that's the point.
I need to go through the 15 steps.
No. That's the point. I have shown you that consulting essentially is 3 steps. Client tells you what they need. You come up with solution, you implement it. Those are the basic 3. Now, depending on the client or the situation, you can use any of the model. Just before then, I showed you a 6-part model. You can use that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to use this 15. No, you don't have to use this.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question, please? Yeah, there's a question on the group chat. Sorry, on the chat, it says, how do you assess a client's readiness for change? Kofi, good question. And I'm simply going to show you a document that you have already that you can use. Let me look for the document. Not here. You have the document already. Where is the document? Yeah. The document is in your handout. It's called Organizational Readiness Assessment. You have this document. I think is number 37. You have this template. Organizational Impact Assessment Templates. Yeah. Yeah. So you have the template here. Let me go to it. It assesses how well an organization is ready for change. Okay, so you have the document in your handout. Let me see if I can show us briefly. I shared this the last time. Yeah, that's it. Organizational Impact Assessment Templates. That is it there. Yeah, the Organization Impact Assessment Template is a framework for assessing the extent to which an organization will be impacted by transformation. Yeah, so this is the template that you use. So you do this before how to use it. Yeah, this is the current state. This is the dimension of change on the left here. This is the current situation. This is what you want to change to. And then the third one assesses the impact. Is it high, medium, or low? If the impact will be high, what are the things that are required to put in place before the change, transformation, or consulting assignments? So once all of these are put in place, then you can start your transformation or consulting assignments. Okay? Kofi, is that okay? Kofi? Kofi?
Very much.
Okay, good. Any other question, please? Anyone else? Kofi? Anyone else apart from Kofi? Anyone else? Any other question? Okay. Okay. All right, let's move on now. Please feel free to ask me questions to help in our learning. So this is 15 steps. Now, this is another one, 5 steps. 5 steps, just 5. So you can see that, excuse me, please. Yeah. So you can see these 5 steps. Can you see these 5 steps? Now, these are just 5 steps. These are just 5 steps. Phase 1 is entry. Matching wants and offer, entry and contracting. Okay, this is the problem that we have. So there's a lot that goes on in phase 1. Entry, it could be marketing, it could be marketing, it could be briefing, it could be writing the contract. So a lot goes into, even though it's phase 1, there are many steps in phase 1, entry and contracting, matching wants and offer. Phase 2, discovery and dialogue. This is what we have found as the problem. That's your phase 2. And then you discuss with the clients in terms of what to do. Phase 3, feedback and decision to act. Yeah. Once the client decides on what to do, engagement and implementation. Extension, recycle, or termination, depending on. So there are so many things packed into each phase here, but there are 5 phases. I'm just showing you so that you can determine or develop your own model on how to engage a client. This is another one. This is another 5 steps. The first step is there to gather information. The next step is to build hypothesis. What that means is once the client gives you, this is the problem that we are facing, you are likely to come up with hypothesis. Oh, this is the reason why you are going through ABC. Between building hypothesis and planning interventions, you need to validate your hypothesis. It's not listed here, but it's part of the process. You can't just come with an hypothesis and you plan intervention. You need to validate the hypothesis or your assumption. You need to test it. And then once you test it, and then you can plan intervention, and then you can carry out the intervention. This is another 5 steps. Okay? So I'm going to copy this material and send it to us. There are different steps, but all allude to starting the consulting assignments, finding out what the problem is, and coming up with solutions before you implement. Any question, please? Any question? Any question, please? Any question? Peter, Madam Jennifer, any question? Nana? Umar, any question? Are we clear? Shuab?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I have a question.
Okay.
So, in a situation where you have a problem, a client brings the problem to you, you've done the diagnosis, you've done all you need to do, and you've told them what the solution would be. What if the client insists that you take ownership?
Hold on. What the solutions? You don't give a client.
Yeah, you've proffered solution.
Good.
Okay, so solution. Now you've provided a solution and the client is happy with the paperwork you've done. And the client insists that I want you to take ownership of providing this providing this solution to this problem. I want you to take ownership. So are you going to charge them for an ownership fee? Thank you, sir.
No, you charge an implementation fee. We covered this on the first class.
Okay.
Consultant services can be divided into 3. Advisory. So depending on what the client has come to you for, that's what you charge for. So that's why whenever a client comes to us, we need to be absolutely sure and not assume to know what the client wants. Please, this is very, very important. We need to be sure what the client wants and not assume, oh, this is what the client needs. Even though you assume this is what the client needs, check with the clients. Now, remember this. A client is only willing to pay for what they need, not what you think is the way forward. Please understand this as a consultant. A client is only willing to pay for what they need, not what you think they need. You end up doing what you think they need and you get paid. So it's critical to clarify what the client exactly wants. Now, if you look at this slide, there are 8 different roles that we can be as a consultant. Okay? So depending on what the client wants, an indirect answer to your question is this next slide. 3 roles of a consultant. We can be the expert. The manager, the owner, elects to play an inactive role. Take the lead. Say, take the lead. Pair of arms role. Okay, you are there, you're taking a passive role. In this last role is a collaborative role. It all depends on what the client wants. So please, never assume. Check with the clients. And there was a document I gave you after the first class that had a way to determine what the client wants. It's called the Client's Engagement Form. The Client's Engagement Form. For those of us who are just joining, I will send it to us again. This form will clearly allow you to know precisely what the client wants. And then you know what to charge for. If you are aiming to charge for implementation and the client only wants advice, the client will only pay for advice. He won't pay for implementation. So let's be careful. And then the other thing is, if you are aiming that you're going to do the whole project and the client doesn't want to do the whole project and he just wants advice, you might miss that. And that's why I say don't leave money on the table. Just do what the client wants, okay? Just do what the client is asking for. Okay, any question, please? Any other question? Any other question? Okay, all right. Let's go to my slides for today. So this is recorded. We'll always let you have, at the end of class, we always share the slides. So today we're looking at consulting services, solutions, and tools. For the benefit of this training, I have said 4 phases. But I said to you, ignore this statement, but understand the phases of a consulting engagement. But for the benefit of this training, I'm going to look at 4 now. Even though I've shown you one that had 6, I've shown you one that had 15, I've shown you one that had 5. And I also said there are 3 major steps. What is the problem? This is the solution. This is implementation. Okay? So the choice is yours to choose what best suits the problem or what you are trying to do. So I've given you a range of options, but ultimately it's built around those 3. What is the problem, solution, implementation? Okay? So for this morning, we're looking at 4 phases. And what do we do as consultants within each phase? And what are the tools that we use? Tools and techniques for each phase. Okay?
As we test whether
hello, please mute your mic if you're not speaking. Mute your mic. Hello, let's mute your mic. Let me try and mute you. Okay. So why do we have this? It's called the client's journey-centric framework. These 4 phases is built around the client's journey. That's why it's called the client's journey-centric framework. Okay? It's a natural progression of a client's journey, allowing consultants to deliver a tailored support at each stage of the client's journey. Okay? Instead of focusing only on the functional functions approach, this approach emphasizes sequence of events, sequence of value creation, from discovery to change, the steps that you go through. Okay? Now, so why do you use these clients? I mean, this framework, I'm not going to go through that. Now, these are the 4 steps we're going to use. Consulting is not just about services. It is about solving problems through a structured journey. So the first the first phase of the journey is discovering what is the problem. Discovery is what is the problem. How did we get here? And that's the assessment and diagnosis. So when the client tells you this is a problem, this is what they want to achieve. So the first thing you want to do is what we call the discovery phase. The discovery phase. Okay? Discovery phase. That's the first thing. You assess and diagnose. Once you have discovered what the root cause is, what is the problem, then we go to the design stage. Your design stage is now, we understand what the problem is. Let us design a solution. That's your design stage. Let us design a solution and a plan of action. To do what? To deliver, to implement, the solution. Yeah, implement and optimize. And then, so you can discover the problem is, design a solution, deliver the solution, then drive the solution. So discover what's the problem, design a solution, deliver the solution, then sustain the solution. Remember, nowadays it's not just implementation. A lot is on sustainability. Yeah, please remember that. Like I said, a good consultant deliver the assignment and walk away. But a great consultant is concerned about this solution, will it last? How would I implement sustainability so that they don't go back to the same situation? That's what separates a good from a great consultant, is this final one, drive. You don't have to do it. And that's the truth of the matter. You're only paid for 1, 2, 3. You don't have to do 4. But if you want to be a great consultant, be concerned about 4. We've been saying this from day one. It's not just about the present problems, but problems that might occur in the future. It's not just about delivering the solution now, but delivering a solution that will last the test of time. It's called sustainability. Okay? So now this is a process approach that when I was consulting, I adopted. It was called the DESA framework, DESA framework. And it was diagnostics, diagnose what, and this is after the client has briefed us. So after the client has briefed us, the first thing we do is diagnosis. What is the root cause? What is the root cause? Why are we where we are? So we do diagnosis. This is an example of an approach. And this is what I use as a consultant. And then beyond the diagnostics, we now analyze what we get from the diagnosis. What we get from our root cause, we analyze it. So analysis is, okay, stating that this is what we see, and this is what we understand. Okay, let me give an example. There was a client that called me once and says, come and do recruitment for us. And then I said, that's the briefing. Recruit for us is the briefing. So the diagnosis was, why do you need to recruit? Oh, because people are always leaving. Every year they are recruiting. So diagnosis is now, why do people leave your organization every year? That's the diagnostics. So you carry out your diagnostics. And then when we do that diagnosis, we now realize that these are the things that we realize. That becomes an analysis. So analysis is people are leaving this organization because they don't see a future for themselves in that organization. The organization doesn't have a structure, doesn't have so many things. So people don't see themselves in that organization for long. Those are the analyses from the diagnostics. So the solutions that we will now propose is based on the analysis. So if we didn't do the diagnosis and come up with the analysis, we won't have a proper solution. We will have simply gone ahead without doing all of this to start recruiting people. But if we start recruiting people as we were called to do, the fundamental problem is still in that organization, the same problem will still happen. And this is where your solutions will come in. So your solutions now will not be, let's look at the structure of this organization. Let's look at all these things that we found in analysis. Let's put those things in place that we found out that were lacking. So that when we recruit, then there's a proper structure. And so we did the solutioning, and then we carried out the implementation, which is the execution, and the results were there to speak for themselves. The attrition rate, the turnover rate dropped in this organization. And then people that were hardly staying there for a year or two were staying for 5 years, 8 years. And that is coming up with a solution that solves the problem after you've done your own diagnostics. Now, remember what I said earlier, 9 out of 10 times, when a client briefs us as consultant, they tell us what to do. It is not a problem, but validate it. Otherwise, you might be treating the wrong problem if you don't validate it. And if you treat the wrong problem, it will not solve the problem and it will happen again. And trust me, the clients will hold you responsible. Okay? 1 minute, please. Okay. Yeah, sorry. My light is back. And Nigeria will not get lights. All right, where were we? Yeah. Okay, so that is the high-level approach you can adopt. If it's getting too heavy, let me know. We can take a break. So for those 4 stages, this is just an explanation of the 4 stages. Discover, assess, and diagnose. Identify the core challenges and opportunities. Design, translate insight into strategies. Put plans into action. And then implement the change, okay? So for your phase 1, for our phase 1, we're going to look at it. What is the goal of phase 1? The discovery phase. It is to understand the root cause. That's the goal of discovery. Understand the root cause. So for the beginning of every assignment, your discovery phase, you may call it a different name. I mean, we called it a different name. We call it diagnosis. But for this assignment, I'm using discovery, design, deliver, and drive. Okay? So the discovery phase, discover phase 1, it is to find out the root problem. Okay? And what do we do? This is important. As a consultant, what do? We carry out diagnostics and assessment. We do what we call current state analysis. Where are we as a business? Through interviews, data review, look at their business reports, and do surveys to understand the client's challenge. So you've got to carry out your own assessment to understand where the client is. Also do a market analysis, a competition analysis, do a benchmark, look at their competitors, look at peer performance, peer review, look at their competitors. Who is leading the market? Why are they leading? What position is your client in? What are they doing in the market that your client is not doing? You do all of that. Those are the services you carry out under the discovery phase. Now, what is the outcome is what we call a gap analysis. You identify the difference between the current and the desired state, difference between where they are now and where they want to be. Okay? And it's about measuring key performance indicators. Where are we now and where are we going? So that's your discovery phase. Your discovery phase essentially is finding out where the client is now, vis-a-vis the market, vis-a-vis competition, vis-a-vis where they want to be. Okay, and your outcome is a gap analysis. Your gap analysis is the difference between where they are now and where they want to be. So that's your discovery phase. Discover why they are where they are, and then where they can be. So your discovery phase is the difference between where the client is now and where they are going. Again, somebody wants to build a house. It's the same thing. Where are we now and where are we going? And how do we get there? So that's the discovery phase. Yeah. So your discovery phase. Your next phase, these are the tools. I've mentioned all these tools, so I'm just going to go over it. The next phase is your design. Your design, yeah, is a roadmap to get from A to B. So the client says, this is what we want. So the first phase is discovery. How did you get there? And what is the gap between where you are now and where you want to be? Is a strategy roadmap. Outline the long-term goals, key milestones, and actions to be taken. What's the operating model design? Develop structures, roles, and processes that support where the client wants to go, that supports their goal. Okay? Business solutions, business model innovation. Rethink how the client can create and recreate and deliver value. How can they achieve where they are going? Those are the solutions that we give them. And then a tool that we use, this is a very powerful tool. It's called a target operating model. Define the future state where the client wants to be, the future state in terms of their operation, their people, their processes, and technology. So phase 2 is designing how to go from A to B. So the discovery stage, this is the solution is the gap between where they are now and where they can be or where they want to be. So your phase 2 is to now design is, again, I want to build a house. This phase 2 is, so the phase 1 is, what type of house do you want to build? What is the terrain like? What is the structure? I mean, what do you want to build there? What's your budget? That's your phase 1. Then your phase 2 is now when you do the drawings of the house. So this is phase 2. When you design the house, you put everything in place in the house. That's your design. Okay. Now phase 3 is the delivery. Execute the solution. Okay. Phase 1 is, what do you want to do? Phase 2 is, how do we do it? Phase 3 is doing it. Okay, is doing it. And that's all process re-engineering. You design the workflow. In a business, maybe there's wastage. You look at the steps. Look at the steps of everything they are doing. Solution, efficiency improvement. And then you take out what is inefficient, what is the wastage, introduce technology. Those are the things we can do as consultants. Okay? And in delivering it, we can adopt what we call the agile methodology of delivering solutions in small packages. Okay, like I'm going to give an example a little bit. So let me just go through the theory, if you like. And then phase 4 is, this is phase 4. Phase 4 is the drive. Sustain success and enable transformation. And this is where you implement change management, the principles. You guide the company through transition and adoption of change. Then what are the solutions? Change roadmaps. How do they go through the change process? You guide them through it. And this is where you use change management concept. ADKAR is a good tool, ADKAR. Very good tool that you can use for change management. So those are the 4 phases that you can adopt. Let me just go there. Yeah. So the first phase in any consulting assignment is assess and diagnose. Please always do that. That's the foundation. You cannot build on the wrong foundation. And again, I reiterate, more often than not, clients will tell us what they want us to do. So it's critical that you validate it. At the end of your validation, what they want you to do may well be the way forward, but always validate it. Don't just simply jump at a client's solution. Most times, client's solution is based on symptoms, what they see, not the root cause. We start from root cause, and that's where your discovery comes in. Yeah. Once you have discovered what is the root cause, then you can design. You can come up with plans and strategies, come up with the different options, solutions that you give the clients, and then delivery, when you deliver it. So you can see those are the 3 fundamental steps. Discovery, find out what the problem is, design in terms of solution, and implementation. And the 4th one is sustainability. Those are your 4 major steps. And you can have an extension of it. You have your marketing, you have so many other different things. You have your validation, you have your organizational readiness assessment, you define goals, you do what, you look for resources, like the 15 steps. But those 15 steps is just an extension of these 3 or 4 steps. Okay? Any question, please? Any question, please? Any questions, please? Any questions? Okay, let me show us 1 or 2 tools that we have to carry out root cause analysis. In fact, I'll show you 2 tools, how to carry out root cause analysis. And then we'll look at 1 example, okay? Yeah, let's go back here. Yeah. I'm looking for the material, root cause analysis. Please bear with me while I look for the material. Okay. 5 whys. Okay. Now these documents here, again, you have it. Please go to it. It's your toolkit. It's in your toolkit. The 5 why is a tool, very, very powerful tool. And then we're going to look at an example now. Is a disciplined, powerful tool of questioning business performance situation in order to understand why things are the way they are, to arrive at a true underlying root cause, not symptoms. The name is derived by the principle of asking why at least 5 times to get to the real cause or driver for a business problem. Okay? The actual number of times why is asked will vary from situation to situation, but the goal is always to get to the true root cause of the problem experienced, because we call this the 5 whys. So we ask why 5 times. So let me come up with an example that we can use for that. I think we have one here. Just a minute, please. Where we use the 5 whys. Yeah, good. Good. So I've seen one here. Let's look at that as an example. Yeah. Come on. Just a minute, please. Get that in no time. Okay. Now, can we look at this example? So, your client is a printer in the printing business, and they would like you to design a marketing program that will create awareness, bring back lost customers, generate new business. So how would you define the actual problem the client is going through? So remember, your client is a printer, and they've called you. Apparently, they have lost customers, and they want to generate new business. So the problem is they have lost customers, and they want to generate new business. And at the same time, they want you to design a marketing program that will create awareness. 3 things: a marketing program that will create awareness about the business, bring back lost customers, and generate new business. So the question is, how would you define the actual problem the client has? Even though they have told you that they want to bring back customers. So it tells you that they have lost customers. They want to generate new business. It tells you that they need more new business. They want to create awareness. Maybe people don't know about them. So from the client statement, you can infer these things, but confirm with the client to define the actual problem the client has. We want to define the actual problem so that we know the right solution, okay? Or the best solution we can offer the client. So let's look at that. So number 1, the first thing is you define the problem. So in this case, what exactly is the problem? Let me call up a board, and then we'll use a board. What exactly is the problem? So let's break it down. Let's call up, I want to call up a board so that we can use a board to do this. Where's the whiteboard name? Let me stop this. And then call up a whiteboard, and then we can do this practical example. Whiteboard, good. So who can tell us what the problem is? What's the problem? What's the client's problem? Who can tell you what the client's problem is?
Loss of market.
Okay, loss of market. Yes, what else?
Loss of customers. The same thing.
Hold on. I'm trying to get, yeah. So client's problem. Yeah. Loss of.
It also include how to bring back lost customers.
Is that a problem? What is the problem exactly? You are talking about solution. So loss of customers, yes. Market visibility, we talked about awareness. What else? What else? Let me bring up the screen so that we can see that.
Fall in revenue.
Yeah, fall in revenue. So
fall in revenue.
Fall in revenue. So these are the three things that they are going through. And they've asked for, what did they ask for? A solution. What did they say you should do? Marketing campaign, yeah? So let's use the 5 whys. So the 5 whys start as you consultants asking the first why. So the first why is, why is this happening? That's the first why. How can you get your answer? Who can help us? How do you get your answer? So the company has come to you. This is the problem they are facing. How do you get your answer? Class, this is everybody.
So you start by asking the client some basic questions that sets the consulting practice rolling. You need to know the root cause analysis, where they were and where they
So
are.
what is
That's where to start,
what's the
sir.
first question? What's the first question you're going to ask? What's the first question? Anybody can answer. So how do
Why are you losing customers?
Yeah. Make a guess. No answer is wrong. Make a guess.
How did we get here? How did we get here?
Good. How did we
get here?
That's a good one. Yes. Any other question you can ask?
Why the lost in customers?
Thank you.
And market share?
Thank you. Loss of customers. So the same client problem is basically the first question you ask, the why. Why the loss of customers? Yeah. Why loss of market? I'm just trying to reduce it so that share. Okay. So let's give a couple of whys. Why the loss of customers? What can we say? Why the loss of customers? What can that be? Yeah.
Poor customer service.
So the first, remember the first why is this happening? That's your first why. Your next why, second why, becomes what? Why are we losing customers? Yeah. Or why are we losing market share? Well, let's just stick with one for now. Yeah. So that's the second one. Yeah. So what is the likely answer? Who can help us? Why are we losing customers?
I mentioned poor customer service.
Poor customer service. Yes, what else?
Customer dissatisfaction.
Customers dissatisfaction. Yes, any more? Any more?
Pricing model. If the cost is too high.
Okay, too expensive. So,
technology.
Okay, yeah, come on. For technology. So you are likely to come up with a range of possible answers. Let me just reduce this. Okay. So the third why, who can tell us what the third why will be? Third why. The third why is what? Who can tell us? If let's say you are working on poor customer service or customer satisfaction, what can be the third why? Let's assume that you are taking these two. What's the third why?
Why are customers not happy?
Good. Why are customers not happy? Good. Yeah. So let's give a range of options. Who can help us? Why are customers not happy? Hello? Why are customers not happy?
The prices are high.
Okay. High prices, yes.
Inferior quality of the products.
This thing's just jumping. Inferior products. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Inferior products. Yeah. I'm trying to clean up this thing.
Not meeting deadlines.
Okay.
Poor customer handling.
So, poor customer what? Poor customer what?
She said handling.
Okay, poor customer handling. So let's go.
There's no warranty. There's no warranty.
No, that's fine. Let's move on. We got 4. All your points are valid, and I'm just still going to use it, but for the sake of this exercise, I'm just taking these ones. This is what you do as a consultant. The fourth why is, what's your fourth why? Take some of these ones. Why? Take some of these ones. Take anyone. Let's take anyone. So your why.
Why are your prices high?
Why high? Can you see the pattern now? Oh man. Nana, are you doing something? Why are prices high? Yeah? That's your fourth.
Why sell inferior products?
Sorry?
Why sell inferior products?
No, let's stick with why high prices now. Okay, no problem. Inferior products. Inferior products. Yeah. It's just all over the place. So why? Who can help us? Why? Why high prices or why inferior products?
It could be the branding. rebranding the products.
Why high prices, inferior products? I'm trying to relate it to your answer.
High cost of production.
Joseph, let me go back. I'll come back to you. Okay, high cost of production. Okay. So, Joseph, I don't understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps could be the branding, the packaging, other stuff, maybe, or maybe the raw material, sources of the raw material.
Why they have high, okay. It could be, okay, high production cost for packaging, yes, okay.
Using
Yeah. Using what?
Yeah, it could be that there is poor quality control in the process. So quality is fluctuating. Today you have high quality, tomorrow you have low quality. That can affect the product.
Good. You can see that we are getting somewhere.
Yes.
Perhaps the raw material compared, I mean, in the inside prices, like we're dealing with the dollar, the rate of exchange and the raw material being input to the country.
High cost of, let's say high cost. Yeah, thank you, Joseph.
A raw material.
Yeah, we got that high cost of production or high cost of raw materials, dollar prices. Yeah, thank you.
Dollar price exchange.
Dollar price fluctuations. Okay, so the cost of production is high. Now, we've gotten to level 4 or 5. And remember what the client says? The client says, develop a marketing campaign. That's what the client has asked for. Now, if you develop a marketing campaign, would this solve the company's problem?
No.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone disagrees with that?
Yeah, you will solve some, but not all.
Okay. Is the company?
No, I think you cannot solve the problem because the marketing is a symptom of the root cause. So unless you go and find the root cause of the problem, probably have a temporary relief and then come back.
Now, we can do a marketing campaign, attract new customers, create awareness of the brand, bring back old customers because we're doing a marketing campaign, and then we generate some revenue. But then, is the original problem, has it been solved or not? Has the original problem been solved if we simply do what the client has asked us to do? Develop a marketing campaign. We're on TV, we're on billboard, we're on newspaper, we do marketing, all manner of marketing. Has the original problem been solved?
No.
No.
Okay. So no. Good. If you go ahead without doing your root cause analysis and do what the client has asked you to do, what result would you get?
You will get back to the same point again.
Thank you.
You'll fall again.
You understand? So you can see the importance of, okay, so the real problem they are going through here is the high cost of production, the materials, maybe dollar fluctuation, poor quality control. So these are the things to solve. These are the things to solve, yeah, before. These are the things to solve before you do your marketing campaign. Because if you do your marketing campaign without solving this, you might have a temporary respite, but then the problem will soon come up again because you have dealt with the symptoms, not the root cause. And the 5 whys is a way of asking the right questions when you go to a client to get to the root cause. Solving the root cause is the solution to this client's problem. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so please always ask the right questions. Don't simply go ahead and implement what the client is saying. And this is one of the things you can say to a client. Client says, this is the problem we have. This is what we want you to do. And then the client says, no, don't worry, just do what we have asked you to do. You can use this to explain to a client, look, if we don't carry out a root cause, if we don't validate what you have asked us to do, we may end up, you as a client, you may end up spending money. We will spend time, but the solutions that we have applied may not solve the problem. And we are back to square one. I don't think that is what you want as a client. Most clients will agree with you that, okay, let's find out the root cause. But there'll be some instance, some clients say, this is what I want you to do. This is what you must do. Now, nobody puts a gun to your head that says you must do the assignment. You can walk away. Or put a caveat in the terms of agreement that you would make recommendations and the client makes the decision, and then you stay guided by the client's decision, even though you make the best recommendation to the client, okay? Because remember what I said, clients will always pay for what they need. They will always pay for what they need, okay? Any question, please? Any questions? Any questions? I'm not sweating. Wow. Any questions, please? Somebody's asking the questions. How many of us are in community development work? Anyone in the policy field? Is anyone in the community development in the policy field? Vivian, have I added you to the consultants network? Vivian?
Yes.
Have I added you to the consultants network?
The one on WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, ask this question there. If there's nobody here in community development work, you will find somebody there. So ask the question there, I will amplify it.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a consultant network, about 400 consultants. For those who have gone through the training, like alumni, my consultants friend, about 400 plus. So we network, we do a lot of things there. So please ask this question there, if nobody is in development.
Thank you.
Class. Yeah, ask the question there. I'm sure somebody will respond. Okay, any other question, please? Kofi, any question? Nana? Joseph? Madam Jennifer? Mr. Olajide? Any question, please? Any question? Mohammed? Shuaib? Any question, please? Uma? Any question?
None, sir. Very, very lucid for me. Thank you, sir.
Good. Any question, please? Any question? So please, the key takeaway for today, what is it for you? For me, it is I need to validate what solution my client is proposing before I start the consulting assignment. I also need to understand that consulting is in different phases. And basically it's about finding out what the problem is, coming up with solutions and implementing it. Although this may translate into different steps. For me, that's my major takeaway. Kofi, what's your takeaway for today? Kofi?
Okay, my takeaway for today is that usually the client will describe the problem by the symptoms that he or she is finding, and not the root cause. So although you listen to the symptoms, you should try and validate the root cause of the symptoms in order to solve the problem. That's my takeaway.
Fantastic. Thank you. Joseph, thank you very much, Kofi. Mr. Joseph, what's your takeaway? Vivian, I'm coming to you.
Yes. Today, I learned something very important, that this is the backbone of consulting. What how we said it today is the backbone of consulting. And the key element, we are focusing majorly, on the client needs and goals. With collaboration, with this, we can come up with a better structure and better results to implement our problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Joseph. Vivian?
For me, my takeaway today is a client will only pay for what they need. So it's very important that we clarify the need of the client.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Jennifer, are you there? Madam Jennifer? Okay, let's go to Mr. Lajide. Mr. Lajide, are you there? Mr. Lajide, are you there?
Yeah, okay. For me, it's actually that validation of yes, I'm speaking.
Yes.
Validation of the client's need, very, very important. So that we don't just take off in after hearing, and we need to clarify, ask questions, and get proper clarity on what the need is before taking off.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
For me, that's something to take away. Yeah.
It is the core. Is the core. Everything we do in consulting rises and builds on what exactly is the client's needs. In the first class, we talked about client's DNA. Desire, needs, aspiration. Be guided by needs. As the desire, aspirations, we can look at that in the future. All right, let's go to Mohammed Al-Hassan. Mohammed, what's your takeaway? Mohammed. All right, let's go to Ahmed Shuaib. Okay, Mohammed, you're back. Al-Hassan.
Yes. A lot.
Okay, mention one. Mohammed, are you there? All right, Shuaib, are you there?
Yes, I'm right here. Thank you very much, sir, Professor. It's been another amazing lecture. And my takeaway here today is the importance of validation. Very, very, very key. And the steps and everything that is concerned about validating to know the whys are key in moving ahead with resolving clients' problems. Thank you very much, sir.
Good. Thank you so much. Nana, are you there? Mr. Nana?
Yes, I'm here, Prof. I'm here, Prof. My take on this today, and it's very interesting for me because I was just discussing with a client about an abattoir project that has to be done, and I had not really gone into the whys yet, and so I've put a hold from this. I'll look at it again, and I'll have a discussion with him, and then we take it on. So my take from this is that there are tools that we need to use during our consulting process for a client, and we need to master them, and they use them properly, and it's going to save us a lot and avoid a lot of losses and wastage during the whole consulting process.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Nana. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Mohammed, are you back? Madam Jennifer, are you back? Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Uma, yeah. Your learning takeaway.
Yes, sir. Yes, for me, I have looked at the aspect that you said we should look at if what the customer wants will not really solve the problem. We are not under compulsion. We can decline not to do the assignment so that he doesn't hold us responsible.
Good.
Then also the aspect of we should not ignore client engagement form. That will guide us on what to charge.
Exactly. It will guide you on what the client wants and what you are charging for. And we should never assume the client has briefed us. Naturally, we would assume this is what the client wants, but always check it with the client. Always check it. I'm not going to sit here and say, don't assume what the client wants. No, natural instincts would assume, but validate it, what exactly the client wants. It's called the client engagement form. I've sent it out. I can send it out again. Okay. Any other question from anywhere? Anyone? Any other question? All right. What is our assignment for today? Our assignment is for us to design our own consulting delivery framework. Design your own consulting delivery framework. Okay? I'm going to post it, but if there are any questions, ask me now. Design your own original consulting delivery framework. how you deliver consulting services from end to end. Whether it's 3 steps, whether it's 5 steps, whether it's 100 steps. No, I didn't mean it. Just to show that you can have different steps. Okay? Consulting delivery framework. Design your own framework. Okay? Any question, please? Any question? Any question? Nana, any question?
No, boss. I'm okay.
All right. Okay, I'm bringing the class to a close. Again, if there's any query, please put it on the group chat. All right. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. You're welcome. All right. Bye-bye. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.